Gun laws have long been a topic of debate in the United States and here in North Carolina. The conversation is heating up once again. Today, we are breaking North Carolina's long-standing concealed carry law, General Statute 14-269, and we are going to compare this law to a very new proposal, which is making a lot of waves in the state. We are talking about House Bill 674. This bill would allow permitless carry in Tar Heel State. Now, let's start with the law that's currently on the books. General Statute 14-269. This statute outlines the rules for carrying a concealed weapon in North Carolina. In simple terms, this statute makes it unlawful to carry a concealed handgun, a bowie knife, a dart, a dagger, anything that could be considered a weapon, even a loaded cane, the canes that kind of like a knife kind of springs out of them. It makes it illegal to carry them unless you have a concealed handgun permit. Now, let's talk about General Statute 14-269 forbid. With this statute, it allows you to carry a concealed weapon if you have a permit. You need to have a permit to do so. But to get that permit, you need to have a background check and you need some training in firearms. And then once you get that training, the permit is issued by the local sheriff's office. Now, even if you have the permit, certain places are still off limits. Places like schools, government buildings, and bars are off limits. Now, non-residents can carry in the state if they have a permit from another state that's recognized by the state of North Carolina. Now, to legally carry, as I said, you have to complete firearms training. Some course, usually it's 8 hours or so. And then you have to apply with the sheriff, and you must complete a background check, meaning you can't have anything like domestic violence in your past, assault on a female. That's a law here in North Carolina, which we'll talk about. You can't have that in your past in order to get this permit. So let's look at the purpose of this law, this statute, which essentially mandates that you need a permit to carry a concealed gun. This law has been in the books for some time here in North Carolina. It's rooted in this whole idea that while people have the right to bear arms, there has to be some sort of balance between training, accountability, and some state oversight. What legislators did not want to happen is everyone to carry a gun, every person to carry a gun without some oversight. They can take it out and use it for violent purpose. And so they didn't want that to have, for there to be some accountability if they were doing so. Now, on the flip side of that is open carry in the state of North Carolina is completely legal, save some places that you cannot carry a gun, regardless of if you're open carrying or you're concealed carrying. But open carry is constitutional in the state. So that's balanced with the idea of concealed carry as well. Now, the law was also aimed at this idea of trying to reduce illegal gun possessions and just ensuring that people who were carrying weapons concealed had some sort of training. Now, you can disagree with this idea that the state will mandate that someone, has some requirements, training or whatever before carrying a gun concealed. But as I said, if a person wanted to carry a gun openly, there's really no prohibition against that in the state, except some places like schools, churches, and government buildings. Now, this House Bill 674 aims to change all of this. This bill was introduced in 2023. This bill proposes what's called constitutional carry, and it's been picking up a lot of heat all over the country. Um, this bill allows law abiding citizens to carry concealed handguns without a permit. Supporters of this bill argue that this bill restores Second Amendment rights as they were meant to be. If this bill is passed, any adult 18 and over with no felony convictions or disqualifying mental illness conditions could carry concealed. No training required. So we're looking at the two bills here. 14269, which is the current law, you have to complete the 8-hour course, you have to be 21 or over, you have to complete a background check, and then you have to apply for the permit, and then the sheriff issues the permit. Now, compared to 674, the bill currently in the North Carolina legislature, you don't need to do any training. You will not need a permit. Minimum age there is 18 compared to the current age, which is 24. And you're still restricted in sensitive places like schools and churches. Now, here's where it gets controversial. Many law enforcement agencies, including sheriffs and local police departments, have voiced their opposition to House Bill 674. These agencies argue that by removing this training requirement, really what this does is that it increases the risk to public safety and ultimately to officers because they don't know who's carrying a weapon. Now, currently, when officers stop you and they ask you, do you have a weapon on you? You have to tell them yes if you do. Even if you're in your vehicle and they run your tags, if you have a concealed carry permit, it shows up in their system as this person having a concealed carry permit. So they'll know if you do, and that's what they don't want to lose track of. Now, supporters of the new bill argue that this idea of a permit system is expensive. I think the cost to get a permit is about $100 and something, and it's 5 years. So every 5 years you have to do this, and that's not the only cost. So you have to pay for the training course, you have to pay for the background check, then you have to pay for the permit. So it's a lot more than $100 and something. Now, most recently, nationally, the trend has really been moving towards constitutional carry. To take this Second Amendment right away from local sheriffs and local governments and place it back in the hands of the people. Now, House Bill 674 is a part of this national trend. And as of 2025, over 25 states allow some form of permitless concealed carry. Nationally, the courts are also playing a role in this. Most importantly, in 2022, the U.S. Supreme Court's Bruin decision expanded gun rights. And this ruling essentially states that in order for any restrictions to happen on guns, it has to be based on a historical precedent. So if a state or a municipality or some form of government wanted to impose a restriction, they couldn't just say we're doing this because we care about people's safety. They have to do it based on history. For example, if they were saying we want to ban machine guns, well, they'd have to go back and say at a certain time in history in the 1800s, no one carried machine guns. The common people did not carry machine guns, so therefore it wouldn't apply in this instance for a common person to carry machine guns. So let's really break it down and look at what would change if this House Bill 674 passes. If you're 18, you have no criminal record, and you want to carry for protection, you could legally conceal without taking a class or applying for a permit. But you could still face trouble if you carry in an area where you're not supposed to carry weapons, or if you cross state lines. And unfortunately, hopefully not, if you accidentally fire your weapon or you mishandle it, you'll be legally responsible, training or not. Gun rights come with big responsibilities. Ultimately, whether the law changes or not, every gun owner has a duty to understand how their firearm works, the law that apply, and when or when not to use deadly force with that weapon. That's a huge responsibility that a gun owner has to take into account when they are carrying a weapon. When are you going to use it? Will it be legal? When are you going to use it? If it will not be legal, that falls squarely on you. Now, as to House Bill 674, that is still working its way through the legislature here in the state of North Carolina, but it's gaining momentum. Whether you support it or you oppose this bill, your voice matters. If you have read the bill, it would seem that this new bill is a lot more stricter. A lot of people think open carry bill and they think it just leaves everything out in the open. But for example, one of the things that this bill really touches on is if you have had any assaultive crime in your past, including assault, battery, assault on a female, domestic violence convictions, this bill essentially bars you from carrying a weapon. That's what this bill does. North Carolina gun laws are at a crossroads. At this point, the choices are whether the state is going to continue with a permit system that's focused on training and oversight, or whether the state is going to move towards this idea of constitutional carry that's currently taken the nation by storm. The answer to this question could shape not only our legal landscape, but our communities. And with that being said, if you'd like to know more about this bill and know more about the current debate going on between the pro-Second Amendment crowd and I wouldn't say the anti-Second Amendment crowd, but more of the control crowd, you can always visit the North Carolina Legislature's website. But ultimately, it's up to you as a person interested in these topics to stay informed and to stay safe. I want to thank you for watching. If you found this video helpful, please be sure to like it, subscribe. Leave your thoughts below about what you think about this new law and about the current law on the books. And really just tell us what you think should be changed, what you would like to what you would like to see change. Okay? Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.